What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down what's happening with some big news involving President Trump's tariffs, what's going on with Tesla stock as we have some more data coming out, what you should be watching for as time goes on. Just know that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, we're consolidating right now, but there's going to be a risk of downside looking at the current trend. And with this rejection so far, this could be dipping a bit more. So I do think it's very possible Tesla dips. But then we'll be watching to see if Tesla gets a nice balance because that's going to be very dependent on other factors, such as what President Trump says and what happens with these tariff policies. So to start things off, the reason why Tesla ended up dipping was because we got lots of negative headlines coming out. There's lots of headlines saying that the German sales are down 60%. Tesla sales were weak, this and that. And that's why we started to see a bit of a negative reaction on Friday compared to the markets, right? We saw SPY in the QQQ holding up very nicely, but Tesla was showing some weakness. We're seeing headlines talking about how Tesla outperformed some expectations for their Q2 deliveries, but compared to last year, their Q2 2025 numbers are a little bit low. We saw about 384,122 vehicles delivered in Q2 of 2025, which is still down compared to what we saw during the previous year. Now, despite that, keep in mind that we do have some new ratings coming out. Goldman Sachs is giving Tesla a neutral rating, and HSBC is giving us a reduced rating compared to before. And then when you look at other things such as our price pairs ratio, I look at this when you look at the ratio between the market and Tesla, it's a little bit down right here. We're not at these high levels where Tesla's running, outperforming. We're currently around the lower phase right here, and that's typically a sign that Tesla's not showing as much strength as before. That's a sign that Tesla has a little bit of weakness compared to the markets, so keep that in mind. Also, when you look at the overall comparisons, SPY, the QQQ, and the others are breaking all-time highs, whereas Tesla remains a little bit low, so that just goes to show we're kind of behind. When it comes to seasonality, Mondays tend to be green about 52.2% of the time. When it comes to hourly seasonality, keep in mind we tend to see more green around 10 a.m. and also around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for monthly seasonality, there tends to be volatility around this time of year. July tends to be kind of like in the middle, but then that August to September period is kind of neutral. And October does tend to be weaker for Tesla. But anyways, that's what we're seeing at least thus far. There's going to be another factor affecting Tesla. That's going to be these geopolitics pieces of news coming out. So the first good news that came out for the markets, not saying the bill is good or bad, but President Trump's bill has been signed into law. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't really matter. What matters more is how it's going to be affecting the markets. This bill in itself is going to be injecting more liquidity into the systems. It's going to help more money on the sidelines buy up the markets, and the tax cuts could also benefit businesses by helping their profits improve to some extent. Now, that's just based off like a business perspective and how the market kind of sees things. Of course, there's also negative things you can say about the bill, such as how it's going to be affecting our debt. But I just want to say that I want to be very neutral about that and just focus more on the financial aspect of things. And for now, right, this bill would be a bit more bullish. A lot of that could be priced in already, but maybe not everything. So keep that in mind. That is a bullish catalyst. We also have another catalyst that's leading to lots of uncertainty. So tomorrow, President Trump is going to be speaking, and he's going to be speaking a lot for the next couple of days to give us updates about his tariffs. As you guys know, President Trump had his reciprocal tariffs ready in April of 2025. That was about almost 90 days ago. And then he extended the April tariffs deadline. He extended it up until July 9th of this year. So that's just a couple of days from now. The tariff deadline got extended. And as we're getting close to the deadline, the market may sell off just a little bit because of the uncertainty. Now, that is what could be happening, but that also depends on some factors because our Treasury Secretary is saying that this deadline could be extended again. And I'm going to clarify what I mean by that. So keep in mind that Mexico, Canada, China are some of the top trading partners. Then you have Germany, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, the UK, and India. These are going to be some of the most important trading partners for the US. So we have to see if some deals come out. And right now they're prioritizing these countries. So this is some big news that just came out. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is saying that President Trump will send letters to some trading partners. Keep in mind, he's saying some trading partners, saying that the tariffs will boomerang back to April 2nd levels on August 1st if there is no progress. He also rejected that August 1st is going to be the new trading deadline, but it could give some countries more time to negotiate. He also said that he expects to see several big announcements over the next couple of days about the trade deals. So that's some very, very big news that's coming out. He's telling us that basically some countries are going to be sent letters that give them until August 1st to make a deal. He actually said that in another quote right over here. There's headlines saying that the Trump administration is extending the timeline for the tariff negotiations, but this, as of right now, has been confirmed for just some countries, according to Bessent. And President Trump has not confirmed this yet. We have to wait and see what he has to say. He's also saying that he doesn't think that it's a bit of a pause because he thinks that's what happened as there's a lot of congestion going into the home stretch. And as a part of the trade team, what's best about having President Trump on our side is he's created maximum leverage. That's what Besson just said. He's also saying that this is what he said right over here. The tariffs will be reset to President Trump's original April levels. So that's going to be a big increase from 25 to 70%, depending on the countries. If the countries do not strike a deal by August 1st, I think he's referring to just some countries. He also thinks there's going to be more announcements to come about this. That's what he's saying, at least so far. And then on top of this, Besson said that over the next 72 hours, they're going to be very busy. He said that today because there's once again very little time left before the deadline for July 9th. So he's also saying that the tariffs will kick in on August 1st, but he also mentioned that there's the possibility of them giving some countries more time until August 1st. So we have to see what ends up being said about that. So just to clarify this one more time, okay, the April tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs, President Trump wants to impose the really high tariffs. They had a deadline for July 9th, right? And that's the official deadline for now. But Bessent is now saying that some countries may see the deadline extended. They may give them until August 1st to make those deals, but we don't have specific details about which countries, what's going on, what's happening. We have to wait and see. So that being said, my argument is that we have to wait and see what President Trump is about to announce. And I think because of this uncertainty, this could cause the market to dip just a little bit. But then if President Trump starts announcing big trade deals with Vietnam, more trade deals with Vietnam, with India, with Thailand, with Taiwan, the list goes on, with Germany, if we start getting lots of trade deals, that could help the market to some extent. And President Trump announces an extension of the deadline for August 1st, that could also be bullish for stocks if we give countries a little bit more time. So we'll see. Does President Trump give another extension? Does he not do that? We have to wait and see just to be safe, which is why his words will greatly affect the markets. So we'll see just to be safe what is said and what is done. So please keep that in mind. That's going to be a big catalyst for tomorrow. Also, we don't really have much data. It's going to be a quiet Monday. We just have some bill auctions at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right now, the market's at extreme greed, which is typically what happens when the market's forming a top. Momentum's at greed. Right now, our put to call option ratio is dumping to the lows, which typically signifies a top is coming. And volatility or the VIX is at neutral, so keep that in mind. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, with all this tariff uncertainty, I think the market will come down just a bit, especially when we look at like futures right now. There is this gap here. They're going to be down just a little bit. And we're going to see if we bounce as time goes on. So you want to keep that in mind for what's about to happen. And I think that the way the market moves is going to also be affecting Tesla. So as far as Tesla goes, it is a little bit weak compared to the markets. I want to see Tesla basically get back above 320. If 320 breaks, we're looking for an attempt for 325 plus for a potential inverse head and shoulders. Now, if we're bearish, you want to see us basically fail around 316. If that fails us, we could be dipping all the way down towards this 305 to 308 area. And we're going to see if we bounce off that or not. So I'm going to be watching these levels very, very closely. So watch the bullish and bearish cases. My gut, however, tells me that Tesla might be coming down just a little bit. But then if President Trump makes the announcement of a potential delay in the deadline of his tariffs, if there is an extension, that could help this try to bounce a bit and try to get back up to 320. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually dip a little bit back down to like 305 to 308. And then if buyers defend, we could be looking for essentially the 320s. So keep that in mind for Tesla. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. Now, one concern about Tesla is that the daily is kind of in the middle, but keep in mind, you can't solely trade based off a daily chart on Tesla because one day Tesla could look bearish and only just get a big bounce. Another day it could look very, very bullish and then reject. So like, for example, like right here it was bullish and just got a big rejection. So you can't solely trade based off daily candlesticks. Same thing with the weekly. But I do want to note that the weekly is still holding support. We haven't really lost 312 on the weekly yet. We're just consolidating. We're getting very, very tight right now on Tesla. So I do think there's going to be some tightness. I predict that we might be coming down just a bit. I think it might be coming down just a little bit, back down to like 305 to 308. And then watch to see if we get a bounce off that. We do like to see buyers defend around 300. That's what could be happening to Tesla stock in particular. So keep that in mind. On top of this, The 50 EMA is a tough resistance. We haven't been able to break that yet. So the way the broader market trades could also be greatly affecting Tesla. So keep that in mind. As far as SPY is going, we're very bullish in terms of this trend. And I think this could also greatly benefit Tesla as we're making higher highs and higher lows. But watch to see if we come down a bit. Do we end up retesting 622 to 620? And if we do, are we going to bounce higher? So if we are bearish, just hypothetically, let's just say we get some bad news about the tariffs. The market is scared because of the uncertainty. You want to see SPY fail at 618. If that fails us, I think we dip quite a bit lower if 618 to 620 fails us. If we're bullish, you want to see us basically break past this 626 area. If that breaks, we're looking for a bigger push for 628 or above. So we could be going either way. However, as far as SPY is going, this could be dipping a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it retests 620 to 622. And then if President Trump gives us some good news about the deadline being extended or something like that, we could be looking for an attempt to continue this move higher as we're still technically bullish, especially after the bill is passed. That could be another bullish catalyst. So I'm still anticipating this move unless we lose 618. The market still looks like it could be making higher highs and higher lows, and that could greatly benefit Tesla stock. So that's why Tesla may be making a similar move, although it's weaker. Dip towards 305 to 308, and then watch to see if it bounces back up towards the 315 plus area. So watch that very closely. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. As far as the QQQ goes, we're bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And this is going to likely continue to uptrend like this if we're bullish. You want to see us break 560 to continue. Now, if you're bearish, you want to see us essentially fail at 549 if that fails us. If 549 to 550 fails us, we could be dumping all the way down to about 547. But my gut tells me that the odds favor this forming this double bottom, eventually trying to break out higher and continuing to uptrend. We could dip to like 552 to 550, like right down here. Then watch and see if we continue to bounce and make these higher highs and higher lows. I think the odds do favor that at least as time goes on. For the IWM, we're also bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. When you zoom out, we also happen to have this like inverse head and shoulders right here. It looks very bullish, guys. There's nothing that's too bearish about this chart when you look at the IWM. And if anything, the big bill that President Trump signed is like going to be very bullish for small caps in particular. So I think it's going to greatly benefit the Russell 2000. But here's the thing about this. Could come down, may consolidate because of the tariffs temporarily before it continues to uptrend for 228 to 230. So keep that in mind. For ES, okay, we're kind of gapping up right now, but it might come down to fill this gap, consolidate. As long as we don't lose 62.77, we could still see a very, very nice bounce. Even if we lose 62.77, it's just the first support. The second support is going to be closer to like 62.40. I want to see us lose like 6,200 to turn bearish. We're pretty far from bearish territory. So even if we do dip like another, you know, 50 points, we could still be fine on ES. We could still dip a little bit and be completely fine. Even if it does dip a bit, it could still bounce and continue to uptrend very nicely. I want to see it hold this 20 EMA, though. There's a good chance it tries to hold this before it continues this uptrend. So please keep that in mind, especially as time goes on. For NQ, if we end up basically losing 22,880, we're looking for a dump back down towards 22,750. And if we're bullish, you want to see us basically hold above 23,050 to start pushing higher. I anticipate there could be a test of 22,885, consolidation, and eventually a push to the 23,000s to continue this uptrend. And the odds still favor upside. We might come down first, though. And then if we do come down, whether we get a big dump or not depends. Do we lose 22,700? Do we get a big bounce? I'm hoping we get a bounce if President Trump announces some big things. So we'll see about that, right? He might be announcing a potential delay in the deadline, right? He might delay it up until like August 1st. We'll see about that. For Bitcoin, if we end up losing 107,900, we're looking for a dump. If that holds, we may continue to uptrend for the 110,000. So keep that in mind. For Tesla, like I said before, this could try to bounce a little bit in terms of the trend. It might come down first before it tries to bounce, might come down towards the lower 300s, 305 or so before it tries to see a full V-shaped recovery. So please keep that in mind, especially as time goes on. For others out there, we have the IWM. We also have Nvda. It looks more bullish. If we end up losing 156, we're looking for a dump to 152. We might dip to like 155 to 156, and we're going to see if we bounce back up to like 162 or so. Looking for an inverse head and shoulders, so keep that in mind. Aapl, if we end up losing basically 210, we're looking for a dip to 208. But as long as we can hold support and continue this uptrend, we're going to likely continue to push for basically 216 plus. So please keep that in mind. For Netflix, we're kind of consolidating right here. We have this like sideways price action that's going on. I am concerned about one thing. There is the possibility of a left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder right here. If we end up losing 1278, we're looking for a dump back down. If we end up breaking past 1305, we're looking for a bounce. We're in the middle, so we're going to see if it bounces or not, but there's going to be a risk of downside. I do think it's going to retest 1278, and I'm going to see if it bounces. Could still rebound in case we do see buyers defend, so I do still favor that a little bit more, but we'll see just to be safe. MSTR is looking bullish. We need to see if we could hold above 400, might retest 400 and consolidate before it tries to continue. As long as we don't lose 394 to 387, we still look bullish. Celsius is consolidating. If we end up losing 46, we're looking for 44, but as long as this holds, we're looking for a bounce for 47. For Supermicro, we're also trading sideways. If we end up losing 48, we're looking for a dip back down to 46.5. As long as this holds, we're looking for an attempt for 50. I am favoring once again that this kind of like consolidates like this, and then we try to push back up to 50 plus. Looking at Palantir, we look decent right now. I favor this 136 to be retested. We need to break this to continue. If not, could come down a bit before it tries to bounce again, so keep that in mind. We have a lot of sideways price action. Rivian, however, is looking weak. The uncertainty about the tariffs could be dragging this lower back down to the low 12s. 12.8 to 12.5 could be tested. We're going to see if it bounces there. SoFi is looking a bit more bullish. May consolidate as well and try to retest the lower 18s before it tries to bounce for 19 plus. It's bullish in terms of the trend, but it might consolidate first. AMD is looking like it has a potential inverse cup and handle. I would like to see us break 144 plus to continue if we can't. We're looking for 135. If it doesn't hold, we could be looking for a dip back down to the low 130s. For ARM, we also have a potential left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. If 153 fails us, we're going to be looking for a dip back down towards 148. And if 156 breaks, we're looking for a push back up. As of right now, we're consolidating, but be careful with the head and shoulders. It could go either way. I want to see it break 156 to balance. Otherwise, it's going to consolidate between 156 and 153. But keep in mind, there's a possibility of a head and shoulders that could drag things in a different direction. PayPal is consolidating. If we're bullish, you want to see us break past 79. If you're bearish, you want to see us fail at 75. We're in the middle, but be very, very careful. Coinbase also has an inverse head and shoulders right here. Now, if we lose for 348, we're looking for a dip back down to fill this gap around 335. But if we hold support, we're looking for a bounce back up towards 360 or above. So please keep that in mind. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. Amazon's also favoring 225. If we end up losing 220, we're looking for a dip. But as long as this holds, we're looking for a bounce to 224. Meta is consolidating. If we end up losing 712, we're looking for a dip lower. If we break past 720, we're looking for a bounce. We're in the middle as well. Google's looking a bit more bullish. We have 182 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 183. But if we lose 177, we're looking for a dip. Microsoft might be retesting basically 495. We're going to see if it bounces, so give that some time. The VIX is dipping right here. We're going to see if 16 holds. This is looking a little bit weaker. That tends to be a good sign for the markets. It might bounce and then continue to fall. The 10 years kind of flat, so is the dollar and crude. So here's my anticipation. Market could see a small dip tomorrow, but as of right now, every time we see some dips, we get bought back up thanks to the big, beautiful bill that President Trump calls, and also because of the potential, tariffs. The tariffs may cause uncertainty in a small dip, but then we could bounce if we see the deadline extended. Same thing with Tesla. Tesla may also follow the trend. I do anticipate some downside with all this negative news, taking us down to the lower 300s, but look for a bounce on Tesla. Might see a small dip to 310 to 308, then watch and see if we try to bounce off of that. So that's what I'm looking for going into tomorrow. Keep that in mind, guys. Anyways, I thank you all so much for listening. Please have an awesome rest of your guys' days, and peace out.